Hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo Podcast. My name is Gemma, and with me, as always, is my good friend Trevor. Welcome back, Trev.
Hey, greetings, Gemma, and to one and all who are listening to this episode.
Yeah, thank you for listening. And how are you this week? Are you doing all right?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been a busy week, but it's good. Good to be busy.
It is good. It has been busy, and we're just the two of us today. We don't have Kirk with us, so it's just a duo today, which is cool. So we're going to run through a few things during the episode. We'll briefly talk about PAX East, which is coming up this week. Amiibos, we want to talk about those. We haven't discussed them in a little while. We're going to go through some eShop stuff because we know that's closing soon, which is really big for Nintendo fans. And then we're going to get into some games we're playing. We haven't had much time for that recently, so we're going to hopefully have more time put aside for some of the actual games we're playing lately. So with that in mind, yes, PAX East is this week. It kicks off on the 23rd. I think it's in your neck of the woods, actually. It's in Boston, right? So it's near your side of the country.
It is. And yeah, I feel bad not going because it is so close. I mean, I have been before, but not in recent years. And it's one of those things, by the time I kind of caught wind of it, it was like, I think tickets were like already distributed for press, and I just couldn't justify buying a fan pass. So
that's all right. Maybe next year. It's been a weird time, like we said last week with conferences. It's just been weird all around with COVID and conferences, and E3 is obviously coming back. But maybe next year when things are back to normal, like things are seemingly back to normal, but this is the first year that they're back to normal. So maybe we can aim for next year. That would be cool.
I think so. I think it's realistic.
Yeah, but one thing we did find out during the week from Nintendo via a press release was their presence at PAX. And did you want to say what is and isn't going to be at the show?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised, but, there was a rumor, probably wishful thinking rumor, that, Zelda would have some kind of presence. And, of course, we know Nintendo marches to the beat of their own drum, and they're focused on like a competition type thing. But it's disappointing, but it doesn't surprise me because I didn't buy into those rumors because they just reeked of like, that's, too optimistic. So
yeah, definitely. I think you're exactly right. We would have wanted to see the likes of The Legend of Zelda's new game, Tears of the Kingdom. We would have liked to see that there. It's not going to be there. With only, I think we are down to 54 days by the time this episode publishes. So 54 days to go. Yeah. The countdown is on. It's pretty close. It's like, yeah. I mean, we're pretty excited, right? So it would have made sense, but then it wouldn't because, like you said, they play to the beat of their own drum, and we know they also play things very close to their chest. So they probably have a lot of surprises they don't want to reveal to this far out, I suppose, when the game is close.
Nintendo's weird how they market things too. Like you never really know what their approach might be for any given game, which I guess is good. Keeps you on your toes and gets people talking. So
that is true.
That's half the battle.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we might have mentioned this in another podcast, but I don't think they will have any trouble selling copies of Tears of the Kingdom. I think it's going to do pretty well. So they probably don't need to show it off. But fans would like to have especially if you're a media person or you've got a fan pass and you've paid to go to the show, it would be kind of cool to have a little experience that not everyone is going to have, 50 or whatever days before the game comes out, and you're like, yeah, I got to try this game, it's really good. But they don't need to rely on the likes of us giving it praise because it's probably going to be good. But yeah, I don't know.
I just feel for like we cover all Nintendo news, so like we have a list of topics, but like there's a lot of like bloggers or YouTubers or sites that cover Zelda pretty much exclusively,
True.
You're scraping for any little bit of news to churn content out, and if there's just not, you're kind of biting at the bit. Like, what can I get out there to my audience? And that's when you come up with the fluff pieces, maybe like 10 things we want to see in Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, that's it.
10 things you might have missed in the last trailer, or something like that.
Yeah, it's always interesting content as well. But yeah, that is true. So it looks like they're doing some competitions with Splatoon 3 and Mario Kart, which will be interesting. But given that Zelda is only 54 days away, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, it sort of brought to our attention, well, I think it brought to everyone's attention, including Nintendo, that there are a bunch of amiibo that have been released over the years that are related to the Legend of Zelda games. And I mean, I think we've talked about this maybe offline, but they have restocked all of them in Australia a few kind of over the last 6 weeks or so. And I believe they're now coming out in the US. Do you want to update us on that?
Yeah, they're starting to, because I remember you saying that, and I'm like, huh. I'm like, I haven't seen anything about that. But in the past week or so, GameStop, Best Buy, a lot of the bigger gaming retailers are getting. I don't think it's necessarily the full line of Zelda figures, but I've seen quite a few. Obviously the new amiibo that are coming with Tears of the Kingdom, but even past ones like, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, things like that. So I think it's awesome. And I also think it's potentially wallet nuking, especially with Tears of the Kingdom being $70. And then you throw in a couple amiibo and, you're looking at over 100, but...
You get us addicted, then you jack up the price.
They do, yes, they do. And it's like with Amiibo, I feel like you're almost at a point now. It's like I gotta grab it because if I wait too long, it's gonna disappear again.
Yeah, and you have to buy it on the black market for $100.
I wouldn't know anything about that, but would you?
Well, you know that I've been hunting amiibo for the last kind of 12 months or so, and I have collected quite a few. I've got, I can't remember, around 60 now, which is pretty good. And I did already have a couple of Zelda-related amiibo in my possession, but with this, because here, at least in Australia, this is via the My Nintendo store, so it's all legit, it's all official. All of the Zelda amiibo are available, in one place, which makes it really easy, but it also makes it really hard because there's 20 odd amiibo and you just want all of them. So it's hard in the sense that to get all of them at 20 bucks a pop, it's not a cheap experience. So I picked out how many did I pick out? About 7 or so that I've pre-ordered. Yeah, so I've got the Loftwing from Skyward Sword.
Ah, nice. I got that.
Yeah, and Ganondorf, I'm getting that one as well. Toon Link and also Toon Zelda from the Wind Waker.
Oh, nice. Are they in a pack, like together?
No, they're separate. They're two separate ones. Yeah. Also getting the Majora's Mask one, which you mentioned, and Zelda from Smash, and the Bokoblin, which I can never say. Bokoblin.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that one too. Yeah, just because he looked really cool. Him and Ganondorf. Yeah, they just look really cool, and it's good to see enemies, I think, as well as the heroes sometimes, because you just don't always get that, kind of experience. And I remember Roger telling me that the Ganondorf amiibo works in Animal Crossing, where he can actually visit your village, which
really?
like, yeah, I really want that to happen. So
that seems so out of place.
I know, it's crazy, but really cool, like crazy cool. So I do need to give that a test. Yeah, it's cool. I do. I think he was saying, I need to revisit this, but he was saying last year that he can bring, or he can somehow give him a Triforce or something to do with Ganon actually having the Triforce in his possession. Like you can gift it to him somehow. I don't know. It's like the thing that he's always trying to get. Yeah, I know. Could bring the end of the world about, but yeah.
They're teasing us a spin-off, like a Zelda Animal Crossing, where you're just kind of visiting neighbors in Hyrule Village. And
yeah. I do love that kind of crossover. I think they need to do more stuff like that. I think it's really cool. So I'll let you know if I actually get around to doing that. But yeah, I mean, Zelda is one of quite a few of re-releases, and I'm not even sure I mentioned this to you. I think I've talked about Kirby and Fire Emblem, because back in January when Fire Emblem Engage came out, they released or they re-released all of the Fire Emblem amiibo, which I have to say were really hard to get, and I didn't get all of them, but I got most of them. There's not like 20, so it's not as big an ordeal as collecting all the Zelda ones. And I did grab a couple of Kirby ones too. But I saw that they're doing Mario as well. I think for the Mario movie, they're actually bringing out...
that makes sense.
Yeah, which is cool. So I think I saw kind of the main ones like Toad, Luigi, Mario, Bowser, Peach, those kinds of ones.
Yeah. And you reminded me... talking about Kirby. I don't think I saw in your review, does the Return to Dreamland Deluxe, does that have amiibo functionality?
It does. You're right. I didn't mention that, but it does. We tried most of our amiibo, which we have a few, and it does give you little bonuses. Like even Mario will give you little kind of power up or whatever. Like they all do something, which is cool. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Nice. Yeah, so that was cool. I always like when they have amiibo functionality, especially now that I have, 60 odd to play with. It's good to actually have them do something cool, which is fun.
I agree. Some people leave them in the boxes, and I can't imagine the space that takes up, but
yeah.
I want to play with them. I want to be like a kid and line them up.
Exactly. They are very cool. I do have some in the box still, which I thought were kind of the rarer ones, but now that they're re-released, like one of them is the Twilight Princess, Midna riding on Wolflink, which I had from, it's so cool. And I had that back when it released on the Wii U. Like I had the box that I just kept in the box for some reason. I don't know why I didn't open that one. I thought it was just too cool to open. Now they're re-releasing it. It's not so rare. Maybe I should break it out.
I wonder if the new game will support that, because in the original Breath of the Wild, you could use that and have the wolf run alongside you.
Oh, see, that's why I should open it. I need to do that. I need to have the wolf running alongside me.
I think you have to beat. I'm trying to remember. I don't think you can do it by default. You have to unlock it somehow. But
okay, yeah,
it's a cool function, and I wonder if the new game will have something similar.
That is a cool function. I need to look into that. Yeah, I do love that they're still doing amiibo, because a lot of Toys to Life stuff kind of dropped off, like the Disney ones.
I know.
And even, is Skylanders still a thing? I don't even know. But the amiibo still seems to be around. Maybe not as much as it was. But yeah. I think it just, goes to show Nintendo is this big deal that has a very large fan base and a very dedicated fan base. And I think... I don't know. There's some people out there who love to collect, me included. So,
Nintendo didn't oversaturate the market either. I really like Skylanders, but they were just every year there was an installment, and or even if you're a Nintendo fan, 2 installments, because the 3DS got unique games, and
true.
They moved beyond the figures. There was a lot of extras like. You need cars, you need crystals, you need all these little doodads, and it was just too much too quick.
Yeah. Oh, there's the Lego ones too. The Lego Dimensions. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and I think there was just confusion. Nintendo, has a more steady approach. Some would say too slow at this point, but
yeah,
you don't
that's
get
probably
overwhelmed.
true. That's true. No, that is a good point. Yeah, probably a little bit too slow, but that's okay. I think that's a better alternative than saturating it. I think that's too much. But yeah. Speaking of the Mario amiibo, I have a quick little side quest to discuss with you, or just to mention, I suppose, that the Mario movie is coming out very soon, and I've pre-bought my tickets. So I'm going to see it opening night. Taking my kids along. We're going to the gold class session, which is what we have in Australia, which is like, you get food brought to you during the movie. So I'm going all out for Mario movie. So I just thought I'd mention that. I'm very excited. So it's another countdown for me. Obviously Zelda 54 days, Mario movie. I should know because it's sooner, but I think it's only like 3 weeks. So it's pretty soon. So yeah.
Have you been to the cinema? Are they hyping it up? Do they have cardboard stand-ups or anything like that? Or?
I went to the cinema just the other week. It's not my usual cinema. It's not the big kind of cinema that would do that, which is, this is more of a local sort of smaller cinema. They did have a poster. I did see a poster on the wall. I didn't see any stand-ups, but like I said, this local cinema doesn't tend to do that. It's like the bigger chains that tend to do that. And that is where I will be seeing Mario, one of the bigger chains. So I'll let you know. I might even be shopping around there before the date, so I might see it. But anyway,
I'm wondering if they'll have popcorn tins or special cups or something like that. A lot of the big movies get those.
Yeah, probably. I'd say they'll have cups or something. Yeah, they usually have something like that. We'll see. I'll let you know in a future episode.
Take some pictures.
Yeah, for sure.
Not of the screen. We don't want to pirate.
No, I'll be good. I'll be good. But speaking of 3DS, because you mentioned Skylanders on 3DS, let's talk about the eShop closure because that's coming up very soon as well. I think it's the 27th of March, which is, I don't know what day that is, but it's pretty soon. Today, this is dropping on
9 days away?
Yeah, exactly. Very, very soon. It's kind of, like I said last week, I think it seems to have snuck up on me, even though we've known about it for quite some time. The end is now very much in sight and it's coming much too quickly. But we have been looking at games that are available on the eShop that potentially aren't on this, well, currently aren't on the Switch, as well as some little gems that we might have picked up during sales or just games that we thought we wanted to get before it closed. So did you want to kick off with your thoughts on that? Any games you've picked up during the week that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I got I got a lot on my wish list, and I've been.
Can you tell us how many?
So many?
How many are on your wish list?
Oh goodness, Gemma, probably a few dozen.
Okay, that's decent. Yeah, that's good. That's nice.
And of course, space is limited too because you can only have so many icons. So
that's right.
What do I want to get rid of? Not that you can't re-download after. I mean, you still can for the foreseeable future, but. So anyway, the one I grabbed most recently, which was on my playlist, was Load Runner on the NES. I grabbed it on the Wii U Virtual Console because it's not on Switch Online. And we happened to be talking about it. I can't remember how it came up, but you mentioned it in passing to me, and I'm like, huh.
Yeah, I think it's because it was... Yeah. No, I think it was just one of those games I remember playing, like one of the first games I ever remember playing as a kid. We were living with someone temporarily. We moved interstate and it was a family and the dad had a PC and he had Load Runner on the PC. And it was literally one of the first things I ever got to play and I kind of got obsessed with it. It was so much fun. And then you mentioned, it's on your wish list, the NES version, the NES version. Yeah, so that's cool.
And what's nice is it was a programmable cartridge. Kind of like Excitebike, how you can make your own designs. But
cool.
Of course, on the NES in North America, you didn't have a means to save those designs. So as soon as you turned off the system, you lost it. But on the Wii U, you can create a save point, restore point.
Oh, that's cool.
So I haven't dabbled in the design element yet, but it's just a cool little game. And of course, now that I bought it, it's probably going to show up on Switch Online.
Yeah, probably.
Next month.
Most likely.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was only $4.99. So.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's interesting. The save state. It seems almost like what was the point of having the designs if you lost it as soon as you turned it off.
I guess we didn't know better when we were little kids. We had nothing to compare it to.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know, just out of curiosity, excuse me, when I played it back on the PC, there were like hundreds of levels of this game. I never reached the end. Do you know the NES version? Like, how many levels are there?
It's a truncated version because it was a fairly early release. Like on the NES, it was in the first year or two. I think there's maybe only 50 levels.
Okay.
Which is still, for that time period, I think is pretty good. But it can't really compare to the PC if it's got 3 times the amount or whatever.
Oh, yeah. I'll have to look it up because I never reached the end. I just remember, and I don't think it saved either. It's like you could save it and come back to it. You just kept going till you died and then you restarted. But it was, oh my gosh, it was so fun.
There is a Load Runner game on the Switch eShop. I think it's like a Load Runner Party, which I'll have to check out now that I'm getting back in the mood.
Yeah, I think there was a demo of some kind of Load Runner game on the Switch that I remember playing. I don't know if it was that one or a different one. Yeah, I'll have to look into it. It's been a few years for me, but yeah. Well, I mean, I wanted to mention a Wii U game as well, which is just one that I happened to review on the Wii U like 8 years ago. So going way back in time here. But it was called The Swapper.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. It's a sci-fi kind of game, very bleak game, but very interesting, full of puzzles and mysteries to solve. And it was. I remember really enjoying it at the time. It was not a game I had expected to enjoy. It's not sort of my typical genre, I suppose, but it turned out to be really, really fun. And I had almost forgotten it existed because it was 8 years ago, but it is currently on the Wii U eShop, but it's not on the Switch. So that is an interesting one for people who are looking for something different, who might want to take advantage of the eShop closure because it's just not available elsewhere, like not on the Switch. So that will be lost forever in terms of the Wii U eShop, in terms of Nintendo systems, if you don't pick it up in the next kind of 9 days or so. So I recommend checking that one out for sure.
See, that's good you mentioned that, because I thought when we were talking before we started recording, I thought that actually was on the Switch. I'm like, really? It's not? And sure enough, it's not. So but I just assumed. So I would have been in trouble.
Always getting in trouble, Trev. No,
I know.
it seems strange that it's not, to be honest. Yeah, but it's not. And it is, it's definitely worth checking out. Very eerie atmosphere. You kind of travel through caverns on a desolate planet looking for an escape. You're this little astronaut who floats around. It's really well done. Very enjoyable. What else have we got on the Wii U? All the videos.
I was looking through my wish list and going back to NES. These games aren't on sale because Nintendo doesn't really put VC games on sale. But I thought it'd be worth mentioning the Wii U has some of the old NES light gun games like Duck Hunt, Hogan's Alley, Wild Gunman, and of course, what's cool about that is if you want to play a light gun game nowadays, they don't work on modern TVs. But because of the Wiimote, these VC games will work.
Cool.
So if you're looking to replay those Zapper games and you don't want to dig out your old 13-inch box TV and try to hook up your NES RF adapter, they're $5 a piece, and you can zap with the Wiimote, which is it might make the game a little easy actually, but it's hard to pass up that convenience, I think.
Yeah. Did they ever make an accessory for the Wiimote that would look somewhat like a Zapper gun kind of thing?
I'm sure they probably did some unofficial ones. The only one I know of is the little plastic accessory that came with Link's crossbow training.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Which, honestly, I don't think feels super great, but, I mean, it works. It works, but... even holding the Wiimote just as is, I think is for these type of games is probably okay.
Yeah.
Because like Hogan's Alley is not a fast-paced game.
I'm not
Wild
sure
Gunman
I've ever played that. Which one's Hogan's Alley?
I think you're like a FBI trainee, and of course Nintendo is more non-violent, so the characters are like cardboard cutouts or that are like on tracks. So you're sort of like you got to shoot the bad guys, not shoot the good guys. Kind of like a training type thing.
Cool.
I think it's probably not as popular as Duck Hunt or Wild Gunman, but I like it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I only know Duck Hunt because it came with Mario when we got our NES when we were kids. So
you don't know Wild Gunman from Back to the Future there?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I do.
Use your hands. It's like a baby's toy.
Yeah, I don't think I've played it, but I'm definitely aware of it. Yeah. But Duck Hunt, we had the Zapper for that because it came with it, basically.
Yeah.
But I mean, I didn't really like shooting ducks. So I
was more about the clay pigeon shooting.
True, it did have that as well. That's true. Yeah, which was harder, I think, from memory, right?
Oh yeah, I think so. They move a lot faster.
So there's some nostalgia there. So I think that's a good point if you're interested in reliving that light gun era. And this, I mean, kind of a bit of a segue, but it goes back to Nintendo being innovative even in the 80s. Like this is a long time ago that we're talking about here. And they've always done things a little differently, like having a light gun. Obviously the Wiimote was huge. The 3DS, bringing 3D to handheld devices, like not to mention the Switch and its hybrid nature and the Joy-Cons. It's just, I love that they do that. And that just shows they've been doing it the whole time, which is cool. So yeah. Bit of history there. What else have we got? I think you mentioned offline that Resident Evil 4 was on sale. Quite cheap.
A lot of the Cap, maybe all of them, but I've definitely seen a lot of the Capcom games on both 3DS and Wii U, but I thought that one maybe kind of stand out because they've just had the remake on other systems, and if people are feeling kind of left out that they don't have the remake, it's only $2.99.
Yeah, it's basically
for a
nothing.
full retail game, so that's a hard price to sneeze at.
What would it have been originally? What's it worth, kind of thing? Do you know?
When it first came out on this is based on the Wii version, but when it first came out on the GameCube, that was probably like a $60 game.
Wow.
That's $59.99 or whatever.
And I'm not a huge Resident Evil person. I just haven't experienced a lot of Resident Evil. Would you say is Resident Evil 4 one of the good ones? Is it a good good iteration of the series?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of like you. I'm not a big Resident Evil player, but there's definitely it's big on it's atmospheric. It's got a lot of because I really only played it probably on the GameCube. I never played the Wii port with the new controls, but even just that one time, it has memorable scenes I can think of and recall.
Cool.
So, I mean, it is an M-rated game. It is a violent game. So
yeah, I thought it was. I remember when it first sort of came to Nintendo's platforms, it seemed like a big deal because the original Resident Evil, I think, was a PlayStation game, right? Because I remember playing it at a friend's house. That's the only experience I've really had with it. So when it did come, like you were saying before, Nintendo tends to shy away a little bit from the violence, and to have Resident Evil on a Nintendo device was kind of a big deal back in the day. So yeah. And for $2.99.
So, especially because they were they seem like the sort of games that, these would have to be CD games. And then Resident Evil 2 came on a cartridge for Nintendo 64. And it's they can actually do it on a cartridge.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. That is really cool. And the other one I think we wanted to talk about just briefly was, and I don't know how to say this properly, Guriman?
Yeah,
3D?
me neither. It was one on my wish list. I was browsing wish list before we started recording, and this is a game that we reviewed back in 2017. Alex reviewed it, and
shout out to Alex.
It was one. I'm sorry.
Shout out to Alex.
Yeah, Alex, we miss you. Come back and visit.
Yeah.
But yeah, he reviewed it, and he thought it was a good game. He gave it a 7, but it looked like my style of game, kind of like an N64 type, maybe platformer adventure game.
Cool.
So I had it on my wish list for the longest time, and it has been on sale a few times, and I just never, my funds were empty at the time, or I had a few cents, but yeah, down to $1.99 for a $15 game.
Wow. Yeah, that's a steal, really. Yeah.
Yeah, as more games are going on sale, the ones that are catching my eye are these ones with the really deep discounts. So
yeah, well, that's
I'll
huge.
probably be adding that. Maybe next week I'll talk about it if we talk about playlists.
Yeah, please do, because I remember the review. I remember seeing the game, but I've not played it myself, so I'm not super familiar. So I'd love to hear more about it. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it looks cute. It looks colorful. I mean, we're talking about Resident Evil 4, which is a very dark and violent game, and this looks like a
complete opposite. Yeah, that's cool. And that's I mean, I don't know, this one may or may not be on other platforms as well, but it does speak a little bit to kind of what we've just been talking about in terms of Nintendo's kind of they prefer the more family friendly games, and this looks like it might fit into that category.
Yeah, and it's
Just
got 3D in the title, so I'm hoping it's got some nice 3D effects, because even if it is on other systems, it's not going to have that 3D.
That's true. And that is one thing that will definitely be missed, the 3D elements. The 3DS, I mean, I've told you this, offline many times over the years, that I just love my 3DS. I think it's even in my profile on our website. I used to have a 3DS just with me constantly in my bag, I miss that. I still have one, obviously. Yeah, Street Pass. I love that. Yeah, I'd commute to the city, for work or whatever, and you'd always collect people, buy Street Pass on the train or whatnot. So
You do have it in your profile. I'm a
I
proud
think I
owner
do.
of a 3DS Fire Emblem branded. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I love that white Fire Emblem branded 3DS. It was very cool. I remember picking it
Nice.
up from EB Games. Yeah, I was very excited. Yeah, very, very cool.
Do you have more than one model, or
Oh, I had
is that
several. Yeah. Don't know where they are now, to be honest. I think I may have even traded one in for that one at the time.
Oh.
I do have
Some
a
people
bunch.
really collect them? Like I never did.
Yeah.
I think I only have the original and then like an XL model. But
Yeah, okay.
some people collected every special edition, and I don't know how
That'd be
you
cool.
could. Is that so much money?
Yeah, they're not cheap, that's for sure. I mean, they were okay. I didn't think they were overly expensive, but yeah, it's for collecting. When you're talking about a couple $100 a pop, that's a lot. I probably have
Especially
more.
for like a new XL model, not
Yeah.
talking like a DS, but like a new XL model.
I have a lot of DSs. I do have a lot of DSs. I've got the original kind of grey fat one. I've got a blue one. I think we've got a 2DS somewhere as well. I've got a bunch of DSs, but I can only think of one 3DS that I actually currently have. So, yeah. But I did go through many, many iterations. Yeah,
Cool.
they're cool. And my Switch needs to be something themed. I keep thinking I should get the Mario one, or I think there's a Pokemon one, isn't there? But then I keep thinking as soon as I buy a new one or an OLED one, they're gonna do the Switch too. And I probably should have just got a cool one a couple of years ago. And yeah. Oh well, it's fine. It's
Well,
not
you'll
as,
be right
yeah.
eventually. Eventually, they will.
Eventually, exactly. Yeah. Who knows what that will be called? We don't know. We wait. We lie in wait. One thing I didn't put into our show notes, sorry, Trev, that I think we were going to talk about was our upcoming issue of Pure Nintendo magazine.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
want to talk a little bit about that? Because I think we've got one coming out. We mentioned this recently, but it's in the final stages of editing right now. So it's all kind of ready to go, and we're very excited. Do you want to tease some of our kind of articles, or what did you want to talk about in relation to that?
I have seen the issue. It's not like last week when we were giving cryptic clues. The issue is done. Every page, the layout's beautiful as always. Katie does a great job. And the cover story was kind of a collaborative affair, talking about some of the big games that we know of for this year. But there's a lot of smaller fun pieces too. There's because we're issue 64, so we did a top 10 N64 games.
Yeah, I love that.
Which I'm already protesting because now I want to do top 20.
Yeah.
Because out of so many games I wanted to add. But yeah, there's just a lot of good. There's another culture corner from Katie, our Let's Talk, some good reviews. There's an interview from Roger. I think it was his last piece.
Yeah.
Before he moved
it would
on.
be. Yeah. His farewell piece signing off.
Yeah. Who's your character profile, Gemma, to tease for the fans?
That is a good question. I think it was Bidna from the Twilight Princess game. Yeah. Yes, it was. Because we've got our front cover is Tears of the Kingdom. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing that put out there in print. And, I have a lot of fun with the character profiles every time. It's just really good to get into the character and even just research into, like, you know where they came from. Obviously, they came from a particular game. Usually, like, this is Midna from the Twilight Princess game, which is one of my favorite Zelda titles, really, or 3D titles at least. And to go further into the character and look at what's her motivations, what's kind of and where she went after the game, like whether she's been in other games or not. A lot of the characters have been in multiple games, but Midna's obviously just been in the one Zelda title, but she's also been in Smash Brothers, and even Hyrule Warriors had an appearance there. So it's really fun to just kind of look into the details of this character and kind of explore them.
How long have you been doing the character profile now?
A couple of years. Yeah. I actually, speaking of Alex, I think I took over from him when he left. So that was his little piece that I moved into. So yeah, quite a few years now. It's my little corner of the magazine that I like. So yeah, it's good fun. Yeah, really good fun. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing it. I think the 64, I mean, how could we not tie issue 64 into the Nintendo 64? I think that was a no-brainer. So I like that we did that. And that was our Let's Talk, wasn't it? It was like our best Nintendo 64 memories. So yeah, it's fun to see everyone else's kind of reactions to that console going back in time.
Yeah, it's hard to limit for a Let's Talk length to talk about memories, because it's like you could do a Let's Talk on just one specific game, never mind.
Exactly.
The whole console.
Yeah. A whole console and everything that came with it. And it was such a big deal at the time, I remember seeing Mario 64 on a screen in a store, like an apartment store, and just and even having a little go of it, because it wasn't out yet, but I got to try it. And I'm just like, this is, whoa, like this is amazing, and we'd been reading about it in the lead up in magazines and such. And this is the 90s, so there were lots of magazines around and lots of news about these upcoming systems and games. But it was just to actually see it in person and then experience it and play it. It was phenomenal. Like that was groundbreaking to me. So yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, you get to hold the controller and you're like, this looks so weird. And then you hold it and you're like, hey, it kind of works.
Again, Nintendo being innovative. I like that they just do their thing. They do what they want. And usually they get away with it most of the time.
I know, that's true.
We won't talk about the Virtual Boy. But still, it was pretty cool. Yeah. Well, let's move on to the games that we're playing, because we haven't had a lot of time for this in recent podcasts, but I think we've got a good amount of time left to talk about the games that we're playing at the moment, because we are always playing a lot of games. And for listeners who aren't aware, we do a weekly, as well as this show, we also do a weekly playlist that we put onto the site. So you can always get a snapshot of all the team members, not just Trev and I, but anyone else who contributes to this article every week, and all the games we're playing during that week. So it can be review games, but it's also just random personal games. Someone will just randomly be playing Splatoon or Animal Crossing or eShop games or whatever. It's really fun to see what everyone's doing. I think there's some really interesting stuff that comes out. And typically when something big comes out, most of us will be playing it. Like I think a lot of us were playing Mario Kart recently, which makes sense because of the latest round of DLC. And we got the opportunity to play that together with our esteemed colleague Justin. So that was a good time. Hey, Trev.
Yeah, and Justin actually hadn't played one of the cups, but of course he's a very skilled player. He won, and I had to settle for third. Usually typical.
It was close, though. I mean,
there were a few tracks where I had a lead for a little while. But
you did. I'd be behind you, be like, Trev, you're in front of me. What's going on?
Yeah, I need to poll the listeners for the podcast. Is hopping about the track bad form? Is that frowned upon?
You mentioned that, and I had not heard that. Why is that? I just like it's like a little. Woohoo, I'm finishing. I'm just going to hop across the line. Is this something you've actually experienced? Like you've read that people don't like this?
Not specifically for this. I mean, I think, is it considered taunting? I don't know. But I do know, like, I think it was the DS version. Like you could like snake, like you could try to, I think that was frowned upon. But
definitely.
I don't think specifically hopping is, unless, like I said, you think of it as a taunt or something, which I was kidding.
Yeah.
When you're perpetually in third place, you have to find something to talk about. So
that's interesting. I never meant it as a taunt.
No, I know.
I think it started, I've been doing it a long time, and I don't always do it, but I feel like this is stupid and it's not true at all. But I feel like if I'm hopping across the line, it's like I'm getting there a little bit closer. It's like it's usually because someone's in front of me, like Justin, and I'm like, I'm just going to hop. Like I'm hopping to Justin.
There is a little bit of I wonder if there is a gameplay edge, even if it's subtle. Like
I don't know.
I'd have to
I just
probably,
like it.
I'd have to do some research into it, I guess.
It's my signature move. I think it also reminds me of, I don't know if this is completely accurate, but it reminds me of Cars, the movie Cars, Disney Pixar the cars movie
Okay.
with Lightning McQueen. In the very first movie, he's not hopping, but I think something happens to him and he's trying to get to the finish line. Like he's edging closer because he has like a busted tire or something because he refuses to go to the pit stop. And they all tie. And I think he sticks his tongue out to reach the finish line or something. But it's like that edging. It's like edging ever closer, and I'm hopping to edge ever closer to that finish line. It's just like, I don't know. I think that's kind of also where it started. But yeah, I just it's not meant to be a taunt, so don't take it that way.
Oh no, I know. Yeah. I'm just playing around. Is playing it online? Did it change your opinion any of the tracks? Like, is your favorite still Yoshi or?
I do really like Yoshi. I think Singapore is a beautiful city in terms of the Mario Kart track as well. I really, really like that track, that futuristic kind of neon light experience. And there's lots of, high up levels, like you jump, you kind of fly into the sky and then you soar through the sky again to go back down. It's really cool. That one is definitely a standout. I still like Yoshi's Island just because it is completely new and different. And it's, like I said last week, even the coins chime in the Yoshi's Island style as opposed to the Mario Kart style. So it's unique that way. I suppose.
I didn't pick that up. The first time through, I did notice that the coins had like the Yoshi emblem or whatever, but I didn't actually pick up the chime sound until you made me aware of it.
Yeah.
And of course, now I notice it, but it's funny how I missed it initially.
Yeah, and I think even as you're driving through, even I've played it, a bunch of times now, and even as you're driving through, you still sort of see things in the background, like you see things from the game. You're just like, oh, look, there's that creature or that mountain or that question mark, that floating cloudy question mark. There's a lot going on, which is really, really nice. I like that a lot.
I did also play the tracks with my wife, and Yoshi Island's her favorite too. I think now that I've played them a few times, I think my favorite might be the Singapore track. And not just for the aesthetics, but I really like those tracks that aren't just loops where like each lap is different, kind of like like Mount Wario or Woohoo Island.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of like that. Each lap it's like, oh, this is brand new. I'm not just going back to where I've been. So I think that's my favorite, but Yoshi is close behind.
Cool. I think we're similar then. If my favorite is Yoshi and my second is Singapore, then
I wonder if that's the consensus. With I should probably put a poll up on our Twitter.
Let's do that. I think that's a great poll because it's timely and I think everyone has an opinion, but they definitely stand out to me. But I really like the whole collection. And like you were saying, when we played with Justin, he hadn't played the second cup, the Boomerang Cup. So that was fun to try them out with him for the first time. And, I was so close to winning a couple of times. If there were only 2 laps, I would have won a few races because I was leading at the end of the second lap, but then the third lap came along, and Justin will tell you this as well, especially because I think you dropped off at one point, like you had to go, and we kept playing a little bit longer.
Oh yeah.
When he's in second place, or when he was in second place when we were playing, he got the best items. He would get 2 red shells. Like he'd get the double item block, and each one would give him a red shell. And I would get a coin and maybe a banana peel, as in when I'm in first place. So I could block one of them, but then I'd get blue shelled, red shelled. I'm like, come on.
I like your reasoning. I'm gonna do if we only had 1 lap races, I might have won a couple.
Yeah, totally. I think that's accurate. Absolutely. So, it's a good question as well for listeners. Like, do you find you perform better in the first lap and then you kind of struggle to keep it up in the second or third laps? Like, it's interesting. And it's what makes it also just so fun because it's hard to stay in first place sometimes when you've got strong competitors. So, it's a good time.
It's definitely different playing human players than it is playing the CPU, even on the higher, CCs. I feel like I can do pretty good against the CPU, but it's a whole other game playing against skilled players.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's easy for Justin. He's so casual about it.
Yeah.
But no, it's good. It's always heaps of fun. We'll have to get back online and play again soon. But let's look at some other games we're playing while we're talking about games. And I'm reviewing a couple of little games, which I think are worth mentioning because they're actually quite enjoyable. So I haven't written up the reviews yet. They'll be coming out later this week. But first of all, it's a little platformer called Planet Cube Edge. I don't know. It's maybe not the best name because I can't remember it when I'm reading it right now, and I can never remember this name. But it is Planet Cube, and I think, well, the reason it's called Planet Cube is because it is a planet of cube-shaped creatures, or I think they might be robots, but they're little creatures who are cube-shaped, and they run around this planet, and they're invaded by these aliens. And now Edge is the protagonist's name. He's a cube who is trying to save the planet, or at least escape from the planet. Not 100% sure yet. A couple of chapters in. There's 8 chapters. It's really hard though. Like it's a platformer for platformers. Like this is not going to be something casual platformers are likely to enjoy because it's very difficult. But in a fun way. Like it's challenging. Let's say that. It's very challenging. And what I like, first of all, is that when you die, you respawn very close to where you died. So you can just die, try again, die, try again, die, try again. It's almost like the platforming is almost separated into rooms. It's not as distinct as that. Like it's not like you exit a room and there's a new room, but there are sections, and it's almost like there's no save points per se. Like you don't pass a save point. But when you kind of enter a new, I'm going to put this in inverted quotation marks, room, you will start at the beginning of that little section. So it's very, very, very easy to keep playing, die, play, die, play, die, play. And so what you do is there's a pattern to these levels. It's not procedurally generated. It's what you see is what you get every time you play, which is my preference for platformers. And so you come to a section, you die, and then you kind of work out what you need to do to get to the end of this section, I suppose. So there's a lot of replay. And there's additional challenges as well. There's these little collectible little icons, and they are often part of the level, like a Mario coin or whatever that you need to get that's kind of out of the way and you need to work out how to get it. You don't have to get it. This is optional. I'm a bit of a...
hard to resist, though.
Yeah, very hard to resist when you can see it there and you're like, I might as well get it. I'm here anyway. So it's just a little bit trickier to get it. So then there are also some little... you'll be running through a level and there's like a little ladder peeking out from the very, very top of the level. And you're like, oh, what's up there? So then you kind of make your way up to the top and it comes to a completely new section of the level, which is completely optional and hidden, I suppose, from the main part of the level. And it's really tricky to get the little icon, the little collectible. I think there's about 14 collectibles per level, per whole chapter kind of level is what I mean. Uh-huh. And so you kind of, when you finish, you get a bit of a stat display of how long the level took you, how many of those little icons you got, that kind of thing. And as you proceed through these levels, you get little achievements that you randomly unlock. Like if you die a special way, you've unlocked an achievement. I think I got one called something like didn't learn the first time or something, because I just kept doing the same thing like 10 times in a row and dying the same way on these spikes or something. And so I got this didn't learn achievement. So it's really fun. So I spent quite a few hours playing this yesterday. I had a really, really good time with it. But like I said, it's not going to be for casual players. It's going to frustrate a lot of people. It bordered on frustration for me, but I do love a good platformer. Like that's probably my favorite genre because I grew up with Mario. I'm a big fan of Mario, and I love the Star Road levels, which are a huge challenge for Mario players. But I always complete them eventually after countless run-throughs. And in Mario, obviously you don't get to just respawn where you die. You have to redo the whole level. So in a way, this is a little bit easier than that, but it is challenging.
I was looking at the screenshots. Is it sort of trying to go for like a Game Boy look? It kind of looks like they're...
The aesthetics are really nice too. It's kind of a blue tone, grayscale kind of thing. Not a lot of colors.
Yeah, grayscale.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
I like it though. And in between levels and even at the very beginning of the game, you get a kind of nice animated intro to these invaders. And I'd say it's kind of a 16-bit style kind of retro look, which I really love as well. That's kind of my favorite, the Super Nintendo era is my favorite era. So I really, really, really appreciate the visual style. So there's a lot going for it. This is just a random one that I picked up, and I've said this before. I just love looking at our review queue and seeing a random game there that may or may not be good. It's a flip of the coin, and you pick it up, and this one is really good. So
Nice.
I'm really, really enjoying this one. So watch my review of that one. Did you want to talk about yours, or do you want me to continue with my next one? Do you want to swap?
Oh, either or. Up to you.
Okay. Well, I'll just get my other one out of the way then. So the other one I'm playing is Caverns of Mars, which is, I think, an Atari game originally from many, many years ago. I'm not even familiar with this as an original game, but it is an Atari game. And this is a bit of a side note, but Trev, you might know, when the game starts, like when it's sort of saying, Atari, like the logos are loading, it says 50, like it has this big 50. Is it the 50th anniversary or something? Or is that just a random? Yeah?
Well, you may remember when we did our Game of the Year podcast, for our top 10, I had the Atari 50th collection.
That's right.
So,
yeah.
It might have been last year, but, the celebrations go on.
Wow.
So.
I saw it, and it did trigger that we've talked about Atari before. I'm like, 50 just sounds like, have games been around that long? That's a long time. That's cool.
It does,
Atari,
but, you think early 70s with, like, Pong and...
Yeah.
Then the VCS was around the bicentennial for America. So, yeah.
That's amazing.
It makes me feel both old and also kind of young.
Yeah.
It's like I'm old that I know it, but I'm also young because I wasn't alive when it came out.
Same. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Double whammy. So this is, I think it's really cool. I'm not a huge Atari fan because it is pretty well before my time. I didn't really, I've played some of them over the years in remakes and rehashes and stuff. But yeah, to kind of actually fully realize that these games have been around for 50 years is, I think that's really cool. I really like that. And to get them coming out again now, I mean, I'm a new player for this one, Caverns of Mars. I'm sure there are players who are familiar with this. This is a remake. It's not just a port. So it's visually updated. It looks, pretty modern. And what you're doing is you're flying a little ship through Mars, like through the caverns of Mars. So you're flying, it's like you're flying vertically down through the levels. So it's kind of an automatic scrolling effect. So your ship just moves. You don't have to move it. You don't have to accelerate. You're just floating down through these caverns, and there's like obstacles, there's enemies, there's bombs and other traps. There's also collectibles. There's I should say upgrades, sorry. There's fuel and upgrades, like weapon upgrades, etc., to collect. And it's really fun, actually. I'm really enjoying it. At first I was a bit put off because it's kind of tricky to get the hang of how it just moves automatically, and I wasn't sure. I kept running out of fuel, so the tutorial's not super good in that I had kind of no idea what I was doing. But once I got the hang of it, it's really fun. And so essentially the kind of thing that makes a big difference is when you shoot, you slow down. So you can control your falling or flying. I suppose it's not really falling. You're flying through the caverns automatically. But you can control that speed by shooting. So as soon as you start shooting, your ship kind of slows down like heaps. So you can avoid obstacles by kind of timing the shooting right. And as an obstacle approaches, you kind of shoot. The obstacle will kind of get shot a little bit and disappear. So you can either fly through the gap that it makes, or you can float around it because you've slowed down. So it's really fun. You kind of go through different levels. When you reach the end, you get to the next one. But the main goal is high score. You're basically chasing a high score.
Oh yeah, that was the what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, that's how they were back then. There was no ending.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I've tried it quite a few times over the last week or so, just jumped in and out. It's pretty fun to just jump in and out of. Like, I think it's one of those games you'll just pick up and play for a bit and then put down again, pick up and play for a bit. And
I'll be curious if you can, if you'll get a chance to play with your kids, because I've done some of the recharge games, and they are pretty fun in 2-player. Like I did Centipede with my wife. So I'm not really familiar with this one, so I don't know how it would work, but I'd be curious.
Yeah, I'm not even sure it has multiplayer, but I'll check. That's a good point. It does have leaderboards, and it has you can kind of, at the end of each level you can choose like a power up for yourself. Like you can get a shield, or you can exchange kind of like you can get a lower fire rate but more fuel. So you can kind of do that if you're maybe your problem is that you run out of fuel more than you run out of firepower. You can do that. So you choose one of 3 upgrades, I suppose, and then you go on to the next one, and so forth. And I'm not sure how many levels there are because I've not ever reached the end, so it might just be an ongoing ordeal that goes forever. But it's
or until you flip the score over to 0.
Maybe
once you get to like 9,999,000.
Yeah, and I was pleasantly surprised. Like the first few times, I did not get very high scores, but I think I got around 40,000 in one run, and that put me in the top like 30 or something for the day. So I was pretty happy with that. Yeah.
So cool. The leaderboards does like daily, like all time, like friends weekly, like things like that.
Yeah, it does do the whole friends thing, worldwide thing. Yeah. So
nice.
it's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm having a good time with that one. So I think I've spoken enough. If you want to talk about your review game that you're currently playing.
Yeah. And I just started it actually today, this weekend. I don't even think I put it in the queue yet.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'll have to remember to do that once we stop recording. But it's a little game called Papertris.
Mm-hmm.
And
is that like Tetris?
Yeah, well, you'd think it's like Tetris, but actually it's much closer to Columns, Sega's game.
Okay.
Which is cool because I like Columns too. I kind of grew up with both. Tetris on the NES and Columns on the, Genesis and Game Gear, different systems. But, coming off, I just did a kind of a difficult game. So I'm like, I want to do a smaller game where I don't have to think quite as much. And what's cool about this game is only $4.99. So it's definitely not a financial investment, and it actually doesn't come out to the end of the month. It comes out March 30th.
Okay, cool.
So get a little bit of time, but the developer or publisher, or maybe both, actually, I'm not sure, but they've been tweeting out a lot of like previews and screenshots, so you can kind of get a look of it. It kind of has that paper drawn aesthetic to it.
Yeah,
and
nice.
Yeah, it's just nice to have a puzzle game it's more like an homage than like a clone.
Yeah,
which I like. It still has its own feeling, but Papertris, part Tetris, part Columns, all paper.
All paper. Very nice. That sounds pretty fun. Yeah, I've not. I feel like I saw that listed somewhere. I haven't played it or even seen a trailer of it, but it does sound cool. I do, and I love puzzle games as well. I think they're really good for a break from the more hardcore titles that keep us up at night. Yeah. Would you describe it as relaxing?
And some thoughtful options too. I think it has like a colorblind setting, which I've seen more in games recently. So, which is nice for accessibility for people that would benefit from that. Because like I said, being like Columns, that's what you're focused on is matching up the colors. It's not just shapes like Tetris. So
yeah, would you say it's a relaxing kind of title? Do you find it relaxing?
I would, insofar as I only started it today, so I haven't really got to the difficult level yet. So
yeah,
at least initially it is. So I would say it probably has a good difficulty curve.
Yeah, that's cool.
There's some games kind of throw you in the deep end right away, but I feel like the better games kind of wean you in. So
yeah, cool. I look forward to seeing the review.
It's got some chill music too, I think. I don't know how many tunes it has, but yeah, so far it's pretty cool.
That's cool. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah, and I love how you always notice the music as well. It's a huge part of the game, even a puzzle game like that. It just the music makes a big difference, I think.
It's growing up with the NES. I especially coming from Atari. Like I know you said you weren't really familiar with Atari, but I was an Atari player before my NES, and the Atari games, by and large, didn't really have music.
Right.
So I got to the NES. They had these amazing chip tunes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that kind of made me fall in love with the audio end of games. So I kind of just, I that's what I notice for better or worse. And
Oh, that's a nice, not analogy exactly. That's a nice description of your kind of journey into gaming and music of gaming. I hadn't really thought about that.
Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
feel like for me, music is probably more important than graphics. Like I could play an ugly looking game with great music, but I
Yeah.
don't know if I could play a great looking game with bad music. You can mute the TV, obviously, but then that also kills sound effects too. So I don't know. It
Yeah,
depends.
yeah. Unless it has the option. I know some games are good with options, like you can turn the music down and turn the sound effects up, but that's not
Yeah.
always the case.
Yeah. My last review game had that, which I liked because the music was so loud, it cut out the narration. So I was able to adjust
Right.
it to a appropriate level.
Wow. I don't know how that got through testing, but anyway.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I should get my hearing retested.
It's those gamers who came from the Atari era. Maybe time to get the hearing tested.
Wait, what?
No, what? Well, I think that brings us pretty much to the end of the show. I was going to talk about Bayonetta Origins because that did come out during the week. I really haven't had much of a time with it.
Oh yeah, I think I saw you playing that.
Yeah, I downloaded the demo yesterday. I had a bit of a go at it. I really haven't given it enough time to kind of talk too much about it, except to say that it does look really good. The visuals really nice. I'm not. Listeners will probably know this from last year's discussion, but I'm not. I have never really played Bayonetta before, so I haven't played any. I was going to say I'm not a fan, but that's not the case because I haven't actually played them, so I don't really have an opinion on them. So it just didn't really speak to me just generally. But I know they have their fans. I know that they're pretty decent games overall. So I thought I'd give the Origins demo at least a try because it is quite visually different, and even gameplay wise, I think it's quite different in terms of being a top down approach and the dual play between Karenza. Sorry, I don't even know how to say her name. Cereza. I'm not even sure how to say
I
her
haven't
name.
played Bayonetta either, so don't ask
Oh, there
me.
you go. Fair enough. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention I have given it a quick go. It does look really nice visually. She's only like 10 in the game, so she's like a young child trying to save her mum. So it seems like a cool little plot anyway. So I'll give the demo. I'll keep going with the demo and see how I go with that. But anything else you wanted to mention before we close off for the week?
No, not really. Just I hope everyone continues to be patient as we wrap up the issue. It really looks great, and once you're able to hold it in your hands and not just scroll on a digital device, I think you're going to find it's worth the wait.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. So yes, if you do want to support us over on patreon.com/Pure Nintendo, please do. We would love your support. We're going to be doing this bi-monthly. We have a bi-monthly magazine we've been running for years, but as Trev alluded to, it's been digital for a while. So this is our first print-based one for a few years. We're also on Twitter at Pure Nintendo. We have our purenintendo.com website full of reviews and news. So please, and our playlist, as I mentioned earlier. So please check us out over there. If you're listening to this, we are on all the major streaming platforms, Amazon, Spotify, and Apple, as well as YouTube. So please leave us a review or give us a like, and let us know via Twitter what you want to hear. If you like the show, what kind of topics we can cover. We'd love to hear from you. So for now, thank you, Trev. Have a great
Absolutely.
week.
It's fun.
And we'll see you. We'll talk to you again next week. So until then, game on.
Bye.